Hi, I'm Michael Lang, and I'm one of the co-creators of Living Together, Separating, Divorcing, Surviving During a Pandemic. And I have an opportunity to talk with one of the contributors to this book, Josh Kraus, who wrote a piece called A Meditation for Divorcing Parents During COVID-19, which appears on page 69 of the book. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So begin and help the viewers know a little bit about you, your background in terms of your professional practice, what you do, and where you're located even.
I'm a family mediator practicing out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We've been doing online mediation since before the pandemic was a thing. So we can practice anywhere throughout the state of Florida. I'm an attorney as well, and I do collaborative law services. And I have an M.B.A, which helps with some business related issues.
Great. So when you thought about writing for the book, how was it that you came to choose the particular topic you wrote about?
Well, I figured that there was going to be a lot of logistical advice. So I wanted to make one that was a bit more meta. The mindset that I described, that empowered, positive mindset that I talk about in the passage, it's something you can do yourself, and it's something you can always come back to. So even if you're the only person prioritizing peace, it's a place where you can find some empowerment in an otherwise very scary, very vulnerable situation.
Yeah, and because, as we know, anybody going through separation and divorce is, as you just said, in a scary and vulnerable place because it's unfamiliar, the future is uncertain, and even without all of the economic uncertainty and the lockdown and all of those other factors applied, that the conditions that exist with the pandemic, it's a time of real uncertainty, and the meditation that you offer seems to me to be one that that anybody could use at any time when they're facing a really difficult and challenging circumstance.
It is the uncertainty in the situation is really it can be very overwhelming. I'm in South Florida, which is the new epicenter of the virus, and people going through a divorce situation within this context have got to feel terribly afraid. It's very, very hard to know what's going on and where. And some of the typical resources that people have, like judges and courthouses, aren't even available because those are currently closed. So it adds an element of vulnerability to the co-parents' choices. And two parents might have very different views on safety within the context of COVID. It's just it's just a unique, scary situation. And when people feel threatened, their reflex is to fight. It's to gather their ammunition, and it's to protect themselves however they can. I was hoping, that people would identify that mediation works better when you use that mindset. There are tangible benefits to having to coming from a place of peace and fairness when you make your offers and counter offers in the context of a mediation. So before you can take some of the logistical advice that's found in the rest of your book, of our book, I think being in the right mindset is an important prerequisite.
Yeah, and because what you're wanting to do is set the stage so that people can make practical, responsible, thoughtful, reasoned decisions, even at a time when they're feeling incredibly anxious um, both because they're going through or in the process of a separation and divorce. And then you've got looming over all of that the fear about the disease, its continuing impact on their family, on the economy as a whole, and limiting their options logistically. They can't just physically move from one location to another. If they're already separated, it's more challenging to figure out how to share time and co-parent. Uh,
Right. Right. Well, some people call and they think they're going to be the easiest case I've ever seen. I don't know if this jives with your experience, but clients fall on one of those two sides of the spectrum. Some call and they just think they've never seen an easier, that I've never seen an easier case than theirs. They've pretty much already figured it all out on their own. So there isn't that much for me to do, which I think means there isn't that much for them to pay for. Maybe some wishful thinking on their part. And then the other types of clients are the ones who come in and they just think this is never going to work. Mediation's never going to work because while I'm fair and reasonable and I just want what's right, wait till you see my husband or wait until you talk to my wife. They think that it's just going to be completely impossible. Um, so so like, what does it look like if you're being more mindful when making offers and counter offers? It means not getting in your own way by making combative, argumentative statements, not blaming, making accusatory statements, or being overly concerned about who's right and who's wrong in a given situation. And it's not about like saying what feels good in the moment. Having the right mindset in a mediation results in uh, oh man, I just completely lost my train of thought. Had it for a second and lost it. So if you're arguing over parenting, what does a mindful approach look like? I put vegan dinner night in the agreement because I know it's important to you, and I thought you might want to have that. You know, and then the response that you get is going to be something along the lines of like, okay, well, I'll do something that I know is important to you. We can do drop offs at 11 a.m. instead of 9 a.m. because that happens to work for you better. Um, there are a lot of like, it's the nuances, the small things in mediation that can sometimes loom large and can really provide a big obstacle if you don't have two people committed to reaching an outcome that's fair for everybody.
But I want to ask one further practical question. Is there something you specifically do or say with clients to help them avoid the combative mindset and find a more constructive mindset? And perhaps we should also say that I assume, Josh, that you're not wanting people to give up something that they feel strongly about, that matters deeply to them. You're talking about how they can argue or propose things that are significant to them in a way that's more likely to be heard by the other person.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. It's not about giving up something that's important to you. It's quite the opposite. It's about being outcome oriented and helping yourself get the things that are important to you. The way I try to measure the success of a family mediation is by looking at how many of the things the clients list as important interests they were able to integrate into their settlement agreement. Gives it something quantifiable so you can look at it and you can say, okay, I got the vast majority of the things that were really important to me. I don't walk people through any sort of particular mantra or any sort of phrasing or any specific meditations for them. I just encourage them to be outcome oriented, and I encourage them to to take some inventory uh, as far as who they are as people and like what kind of lives they want to live, what kind of lives they want to create for their kids. And when they do that, they almost never come back with aspirations of greed or revenge. When they think aspirationally for the types of lives that they want to live, they want to be happy. They want their kids to be happy, and that naturally leads towards solutions that integrate both parents into their parenting plan. Um, More
So,
so than when they first come in.
and what so just to we're going to finish up in a second, Josh, but when you talk about meditation, you're not talking about sitting on a cushion in a lotus position and closing their eyes and imagining happy, wonderful things. For you, meditation is an active process of being clear about what they want, about the outcome they would like to achieve, and how they can work together in order to achieve those outcomes.
Yeah, that's right. And if a comfortable cushion helps, I'm not opposed to it. Whatever people need to feel comfortable and safe and empowered, I think is a step in the right direction. It gives them tangible benefits. Like I said, it's a more peaceful way of living, but that's not the primary benefit of it. It leads to better mediation outcomes. I hope that was able. I hope that was able to come across.
And that's really clear because that you are solution oriented. You're focused on helping them accomplish a specific objective, their outcomes. And this is a method that helps them accomplish their own goals.
Right. Right. And that's what family mediation is, right? So when people are reflective and they're making their best decisions, they're going to choose family mediation instead of their other alternatives. They're going to try the techniques and the advice in the rest of the book, and when they do use family mediation to hammer out the areas that are difficult for them, they're going to make offers and counteroffers that are more likely to be accepted. And it's not because they're giving up more; they're just phrasing what they want better. They're stopping themselves from getting in their own way by saying something that torpedoes the situation.
Great. Josh, thanks very much for this time, the chance to talk with you and to hear the way in which you work with your clients to help them overcome the challenges of separation and divorce, especially in this time of the pandemic.
Well,
Thanks
thank you.
very much.
Well, thank you so much for including me in this very important book. It really is a lifeline for people. And I am humbled that you asked me to be involved. And I hope that it helps.
It does indeed. Thanks, Josh.